Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, fellow dregs to society. Welcome, all you rock dwellers out there. Once again, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos radio network. And joining me today as my co-host is the patriot from the battle-born state, the Silver State of Nevada. Welcome back from Hawaii, Sharron Angle.
Thank you. I had a fabulous time, Rick. So thank you for welcoming me back. I'm not sure that I'm glad to be home. You know, after you get to do something like that, you kind of regret having to get back on the plane and come back to your reality, right?
I totally understand. I always say Hawaii is like a brainless vacation. It's beautiful. There's always something to do. They speak English. They use the dollar, although prices there are outrageous. But it's just a great place to visit. And I understand when you say you didn't necessarily want to come home. I remember on my first visit to Hawaii, I fell in love with it so much, I actually postponed coming home. I mean, if you've never been, you gotta go. You gotta go.
Well, part of the problem with coming home into reality is that there are some really harsh realities here in the United States, and one of those, I guess, is having to say how heartbroken we are to the families that were victimized by this latest round of shooters and copycat shooters. It just seems like we have one and then we have another, and they're just there's senseless loss. And I guess it just breaks our hearts here at Conservative Commandos radio show to even have to talk about this stuff, because that can't, what is happening, and it seems like it's happening to a whole generation now, that we just continue to see this happening over and over again. But it does have its political aspect, and that is that the Ohio gunman described himself on social media as a pro-Satan leftist who wanted Joe Biden's generation to die off. I guess that's you and me, Rick. hated President Trump. So we're still in good company there. And law enforcement, really good company. Now we can add that to our list of who the deplorables are, the rock dwellers. And this, what I thought was significant. He hopes to vote for Senator Elizabeth Warren for president. So, when the left comes out, and they do, strikingly, every one of these Democrat presidential candidates, it seems like, had to blame President Trump for this last volley of mass shootings, and it's Cory Booker, your favorite senator, who's saying, to say nothing in the time of rising hatred is not enough to say that I'm not a hate monger myself. If you're not actively working against hate, calling it out, you're complicit with what is going on. I can't hardly make sense of him, Rick, but it all boils down to Trump is a hater. And then we go to Pete Buttigieg, and he, of course, one of my favorites. He says that the president has stoked many of these feelings in this country to begin with. And then Kamala Harris in California, my neighboring state here, she found blame in Trump's use of language, which she said is an incredible consequence. We have a president of the United States who's chosen to use his words in a way that has been about selling hate and division among us. We're starting to get a speaking point now. I think that they must have all got the call from whoever calls the shots over there on the Democrat side, and they're all singing the same song, because here comes Beto O'Rourke. He's talking about it too, he says, and Julian Castro. They both say, there's nothing that Trump can do, because he doesn't try to unite Americans, only fanning the flames of bigotry. And they're using this tragedy. That's what gets me, is that they make hay over this tragedy. They make political points over other people's sad losses. And of course, over what I'm starting to see is a generational problem that we have with our children.
I agree with that.
Not only sad for the victims, but it's sad for those that are committing these crimes. I found this article where it says that more than 20% of millennials surveyed by a YouGov poll released this week claim they don't have a single friend.
I can tell you why, Sharon. Because they're too busy looking at their personal device. Their world is their darn personal devices. About a year or two ago, and I'm sure I've talked about it here before in Conservative Commandos, Mary and I were taking a train over into Philadelphia, and while we were waiting, we were in this little station. There were 15 people in the station. 13 of those people had their nose in their personal device. Mary and I were the only ones without a personal device. And I said to these people, "Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to notice something. Everybody is into their personal device." And they look at each other and they kind of chuckled and went back to their personal devices. But that's what the art of conversation is gone. The art of family at the dinner table, that's gone. Well, I think that was taken away with television. But we are a society that is hooked on a drug, a plug-in drug, and that's the screen. Be it a television, be it a personal device, be it a computer. People don't know how to make friends. They don't know how to communicate anymore. So I'm not surprised when 20% say they have no friends. And so they're into the TV, they're into the computer, they're into video games. What do they see? Violence, destruction, terror, murder, horrible things. That's what they're entertained by. So is there any wonder that you get a few who are off in their minds, and I'll say they're off in their minds, act out what they see on television, in the movies, and in these violent video games? It is not enough for them to push and pull on a joystick. They want to pull on a trigger. They want to act out what they see in TV and movies. They want to act out what they do on video games.
It's the ultimate virtual reality, isn't it?
Yes.
And the University of Pennsylvania, it says, despite the social media, a 2018 study out of the University of Pennsylvania linked usage of apps like Facebook and Instagram to social isolation. Quote, using less social media than you normally would leads to significant decreases in both depression and loneliness. So if you don't use that stuff, you have less depression, less loneliness. Get a friend. Is what it's saying. Find yourself a friend.
Go to church. Make a friend. Get involved with your community.
Absolutely. And here's the Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. I'm naming him because he just became one of my heroes. He says, he pointed out Sunday, this is a guy from El Paso, so he's right in the middle of this horrible tragedy that just happened. And he said to the video game industry and social media's areas to look into after the mass shootings. He said, we know that the video game industry is bigger than the movie industry and the music industry combined. We always had guns. We've always had evil. But what's changed? Where we see this rash of shooting, and I see a video game industry that teaches young people to kill, he said. This was maybe a video of this evil demon, a video game to him.
Sharon, we're going to go a little long on this segment because I want to piggyback the conversation with what we just been having. on who the real hate mongers are. Some time ago in the spring, I talked about a rap sheet of 538 acts of media-approved violence and harassment against Trump supporters. 538 acts. Well, here's another one. And this was going back to this past weekend. A man claimed he was attacked by a group of teenagers in Lower Manhattan because he was doing what? He was wearing a Make America Great Again hat. And I can't pronounce this gentleman's name, so I'm not going to try, but he told CBS New York he was walking on Canal Street shortly before 7 p.m. Tuesday while wearing a red Make America Great Again hat when he was roughed up by more than a dozen teens who cursed at him as they confronted him. The kids shouted, "F Trump," during the attack. This gentleman, whose name I can't pronounce, said that he bought the hat earlier that day and suffered a broken cheekbone and a black eye. The man says, "I love President Trump. I think he's doing a great job." That's where the violence is coming from, Sharon. And it's coming from people like all those politicians who you mentioned, like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg, all those idiots that are running for president on the other side that are using these shootings, and these shootings are occurring where? In gun-free zones. And people that are getting the guns are getting around the gun laws that don't work. This whole idea of guns, gun control, gun laws, gun-free zones don't work. I agree with the lieutenant governor from Texas. Our society is screwed up because by what we see on TV, in the movies, violent music, in these video games. All these mass shootings, Sharron Angle, all of them have something in common. They've all taken place in gun-free zones. With that, we need to take a break. We've got three great guests joining us once again here on Conservative Commandos. On the other side, Sharon and I will tell you who they are and what we're going to be talking about. But today's show, like all our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. The First Amendment doesn't work without the Second Amendment. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. As usual, we're going to have three great guests joining us here once again. And again, I wanted to mention to you, the hallmark of the Conservative Commandos radio show is our guest. If you'd like to be a guest here on Conservative Commandos, or if you'd like to recommend a guest, send me an email. And it's rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. I know it's long, but it's easy. rick@conservativecommandosradioshow.com. Really would love to hear from you and would love to get your recommendations for a guest. And Sharron, speaking of recommendations and speaking of our guest, who are we going to be speaking with today?
Well, like you said, we're going to have three great guests. The first one is Jeff Ferry, who's Research Director for Coalition for a Prosperous America. Jeff is an experienced economist, financial and technology journalist, technology executive, and author. His first book, The British Renaissance, focused on the strategies and culture of the six world-class British companies that emerged from the Thatcher era in Britain. He's also written for Forbes magazine, Bloomberg News, and has produced documentaries on business for the BBC and other British television broadcasters. And we've asked him to come on and talk about a press release that the Coalition for a Prosperous America put out. They strongly endorse Baldwin Hawley currency legislation. Mm-hmm. What else would we like to talk about but money here? And we've got the money man himself, I think, to talk to us about that in Jeff Ferry. We also have Hiram Sasser, who is general counsel for First Liberty Institute, a nonprofit law firm that is dedicated to defending religious freedom for all Americans. He's going to come and talk to us about an article that Jeremy Dice wrote. Jeremy is also with First Liberty Institute, and that article is entitled "Banning In God We Trust from the Public Square is Ludicrous." We couldn't agree more, but we're going to get a real lowdown on who these guys are that think this would be a good idea. I don't get it.
Good idea if you're looking to destroy this great nation.
Yeah, no kidding. And our final guest is Kelley Vlahos. She's the executive editor and has been writing for the American Conservative for the last decade, focusing on national security, foreign policy, civil liberties, and domestic policy. She served for 15 years in the Washington Bureau as a reporter for FoxNews.com and WTOP News in Washington, as a writer and digital editor and social media strategist. She's also worked as a beat reporter for the Bridge News Financial Wire and Homeland Security Today, and she got her start in Connecticut newspapers. But now she resides here in Arlington, Virginia. She has written an article for the American Conservative. No, I'm sorry, take that back. She didn't write this article, but she is our resident expert on this topic, which is the U.S. preparing to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan as part of a proposed Taliban deal. I don't know how you make a deal with the Taliban, but we're going to ask Kelley
don't work.
if that how that's going to happen for us here in the United States.
We shouldn't have gone into these wars to begin with, that we had no intentions of winning. You cannot win these surgical wars. Cannot win. We shouldn't have gotten involved.
Well, there's some wars that we can win, and I'm going to say a big shout out to the Covington Catholic students and their attorney, because they have now won $250 million from the Washington Post and $275 million each from CNN and NBC Universal. Now, they're not done. They are not done. Their attorney says, we're going to go after all the bad actors in this deal for defaming these kids, these minors, and we're going to get their college tuition paid for. And they've gone after 12. Yeah, they've got 12 more lawsuits out there against folks like Representative Deb Haaland, who is a New Mexico Democrat, Ann Navarro, who is a CNN contributor, Sean King, who is an activist and a columnist, Adam Edeline, who's a Kentucky public accounts guy. So the list goes on here. Folks from the New York Times, a professor, a comedian, a news analyst, a couple of professors here, and several news people. So they're going after it. They're saying you can't just make these wild statements, these wild accusations about people and accuse them of things and cause their reputation to be tarnished at least, and maybe for the rest of their lives destroyed. So they're going after Elizabeth Warren too. She was one of these guys.
Sharon, I've said before, we have got to fight back. We just can't sit back and take it all the time. And the left has been very successful at using the courts. I think we've got to use the courts too. So good for the Covington Catholic kids for fighting back, for taking the left to court, taking the left to court and giving them a little bit of their own medicine.
Well, that's what I say. Good on them. And there are some battles that we can win, and I'm watching these guys win them, and I'm really, really pleased to hear they're going to use it to go to college. We need some guys that won't take any of that bunk in college too.
That's right. Take that conservatism to some of these college campuses where it's really needed. Sharon, we got to go to a break and get our first guest on. But you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Don't go away. We'll be right back after this break with our first guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
And once again, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle. And for rebroadcast of our shows, best place to go is our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. You'll find our radio show there, our TV show, a lot of terrific articles, and a lot of great information. And with that, Sharon, we do have our first guest with us today. The honor of that introduction is all yours.
Well, it is an honor and a real pleasure for me to introduce Jeff Ferry, who is the research director for Coalition for a Prosperous America. Jeff is an experienced economist, financial and technological journalist, technology executive, and author. His first book, The British Renaissance, focused on strategies and culture of 6 world-class British companies that emerged from the Thatcher era in Britain. As a journalist, he wrote for the Washington Post, Forbes magazine, and Bloomberg News, and produced documentaries on business for the BBC and other British television broadcasters. Jeff, welcome to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thanks, Sharon. It's good to be here.
It's great to have you, and we want to discuss a press release that the Coalition for a Prosperous America released. It says they strongly endorse Baldwin Hawley currency legislation. So, tell us first of all who's Baldwin, who's Hawley, and what kind of currency legislation are we looking at?
Right. Okay. So this is a bipartisan piece of legislation which is sponsored by Senators Tammy Baldwin, Democrat of Wisconsin, and Senator Josh Hawley, Republican of Missouri. And it's called the Competitive Dollar for Jobs and Prosperity Act. And what this piece of legislation does is it empowers the Federal Reserve Board to manage a new tool we call the market access charge, which would enable them to move the U.S. dollar, realign the dollar to a competitive exchange rate. Right now, the U.S., and for many years, the U.S. has suffered from an overvalued exchange rate, which has made our industrial goods and our agricultural goods too expensive on world markets. The result has been a trade deficit, deindustrialization, loss of jobs, depressed agricultural prices. So what this legislation does, instead of saying let's realign the dollar all at once, it says let's pursue a plan over 5 years. The Federal Reserve has got to get the dollar back to a competitive level using this market access charge. And the way this market access charge works is it's a small tax, under 1% typically, placed on foreigners who wish to buy U.S. dollar assets, thereby reducing the demand for dollar assets and making the dollar more competitive.
Well, I'm glad to hear it's not a tax on us. That's a scary thing for us here at Conservative Commandos. Whenever we hear tax, our ears just pick up and we think, oh my goodness, here it goes. Because we know that tax never goes away. That's the problem with taxes. But this is a tax on those who want to buy our dollar who aren't American citizens. That's what I'm getting, is that that this actually makes them pay to play, so to speak.
That's right. Let's call it a charge instead of a tax.
Okay.
And we sometimes say, think of it as a speed bump because it's designed to moderate the demand from foreigners for dollar assets. And by assets, I'm thinking of stocks and bonds primarily, because as you probably know, every year, foreigners buy trillions of dollars worth of U.S. stocks and bonds. Now, Americans buy those things too, and that's fine, and that's not going to change. It's the foreign demand for the dollar that bids up the dollar to a higher price than it ought to be at. So this is a speed bump to moderate that demand.
Okay, so when I go, my dollar on the outside of this country, my dollar is worth generally more than the local currency. So that makes me happy because when I go as a tourist, I'm able to buy more. But for some reason, that's not really in our best interest. Is that what I'm hearing? That our dollar is not competitive enough to be in our best interest. And talk to me a little bit about why I would, as a tourist, not would say, okay, that's good for me to do as well.
Right. So we sometimes call that strong dollar syndrome. You know, people say we've got a strong dollar, that means we're a strong country. But I think that's a fallacy. It does mean that when you're a tourist, as you say, your dollar goes further in those foreign countries. But what an overvalued dollar does is it makes all of our exports too expensive. So rather than, you getting a good price on that cappuccino in Italy, nice as that is, we would rather see us selling more cars, more electronics, more airplanes, more wheat, more corn, more everything overseas. And if we can move the dollar, realign it to a more competitive level, our exports go up. The number of jobs we have here. I mean, we ran an economic model at the CPA, which showed us that if we move the dollar to a competitive level over 5 years, we will generate 5 million additional jobs in this economy. And about 1.2 million of those jobs will be manufacturing jobs. In addition, we'll see agricultural prices go up. We'll see wages go up at a faster rate, a couple of points faster than what we're seeing right now, that 3% level we're seeing right now. So the benefits are spread throughout the economy. So go back to the beginning. A strong dollar is a bit of a fallacy. The way you win in the world as a nation is to have very strong productive power. We are not ultimately a powerful country if we can't put a fighter jet in the air without purchasing the microelectronics from China. That's not a healthy position. So making the dollar competitive lets us bring back, it encourages the bringing back of some of those crucial industries to the U.S.
Well, I want you to explain this a little bit more to me because I'm still that tourist that's going overseas, and now I see that my dollar isn't buying as much. Will it still buy the same amount here at home, or am I going to see an impact on my dollar here at home as well?
No, here at home, you won't see any impact. I mean, people often say, well, if we realign the currency, inflation will go up. Well, what our economic model shows is that inflation goes up by about 0.5 point a year. So from 2.3 to 2.8% a year over the next 5 years. You'll hardly notice that at all. But you have to remember that the upside, the positive side of this is it's stimulating the economy. It's leading to more jobs, more production, and more output throughout the economy. And that's a healthy thing. That'll make real estate prices go up. That will produce a feeling of prosperity. And, I think, frankly, the dollar is just such a powerful force on every sector of our economy because so many sectors compete with imports here at home and so many sectors today export outside the country. So the effects of realigning the dollar will be really pervasive and really positive throughout the economy. So you will find when you go overseas, your cappuccino might cost a little bit more, but I bet that you and your colleagues here in the States will be earning more money and seeing more job opportunities as a result of this policy.
Well, and I'm sure other tourists are like me. I don't really look at the exchange rate until I get there, and then I don't know what I'm comparing to because I didn't look 5 years ago, or even 1 year ago. I looked when I got to that foreign country to buy my cappuccino, as you say. So talk to me a little bit now about inflation, because that's a big deal. I can remember 33 cents a gallon for gas, and now I'm looking at my gas pump at $3.45, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how much higher can it go before I can't afford to drive my car? And I guess that's the thing that we see as Americans, is this idea that our dollar doesn't go as far because of inflation. How will this affect that?
I don't think this will affect that much at all. I mean, I think I can remember 33 cents a gallon too. That's when I took my driving test many years ago. But, you're confusing a number of things. I mean, the reason gasoline is more expensive is because the people who controlled the oil market raised the price quite deliberately by pulling back on the supply. And that's in the process of changing, as you know. Now that the U.S. is heading towards oil self-sufficiency, you're not going to see oil prices rise quite as rapidly as you did in the 70s and 80s. Frankly, inflation's been around 2% for the last 5 years, or maybe even since 2009, so that's 10 years. And it seems impossible, whatever we do, to get it much above that. So I think inflation's not the problem. The problem is you have the perception that your salaries and your incomes don't go up as much as they used to. And that's, I think, because we've got too much competition from overseas, and we're not doing enough of an aggressive job to boost American industry. So this dollar policy is just one plank in a series of plans that I think we need to boost U.S. industry and make people feel that their wages are once again heading upwards, and they'll feel better about the state of the economy.
Well, we have to go to a break, so I'm hoping that Rick will ask the question about what the chances are for this bill passing. We've not seen much talk about a stagnation in our in our Congress. We haven't seen much coming out of there, but we do have to go to a break. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. You can also see us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. We'll be right back with our guest, Jeff Ferry, and I'm Sharron Angle with my co-host, Rick Trader.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
And once again, I want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. And I'd like to give a shout out to the folks who listen to us on radio stations in Jacksonville, Tampa, and the Villages, Florida, Las Vegas and Reno, Macon, Georgia, Lancaster and Pittsburgh, Boulder and Colorado Springs, Milwaukee, Long Beach, California, and now in Arlington, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. And our guest this segment is Jeff Ferry. He's the research director at the Coalition for a Prosperous America. Jeff, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time. Jeff, there's a couple of things I want to clear up before we go any further in this interview. When Sharron Angle talks about being a tourist, I don't think she has to worry about the exchange rate because she likes to tour Hawaii, which I could certainly understand. And the great thing about touring in Hawaii, it's a brainless vacation. The weather's beautiful. There's always beautiful things to see. They speak English. They use the dollar, so that's never a problem there. And when you and Sharron talk about remembering 33 cents a gallon gasoline, boy, that makes me feel old. I remember it when it was 27 or 28 cents a gallon. Now that don't even pay the tax. Jeff, the Competitive Dollar for Jobs and Prosperity Act, I'll start out with the question that Sharron wanted to ask. What's the chances of this being passed?
Well, I think we're working on that right now. We have heard a lot of positive signs of interest from congressmen on both sides of the aisle and in both houses. You know, I've got to say that the Wall Street community is opposed to this bill. We didn't talk about that before, Sharron.
Well, let's talk about it now. Why are they opposed to it?
Well, they are the big believers in the strong dollar because they like to sell stocks and bonds to foreigners. So the dollar has a reputation that, hey, it's the world's strongest currency and nothing's ever going to change. Then you get all the, we used to joke in the financial markets about the Belgian dentists. They were famous for having a lot of money that the tax man didn't know about. And they needed foreign investments that the Belgian tax man would never find out about. So your average Belgian dentist loves buying a U.S. Treasury bond, and that's what they want to do, is sell them lots of Treasury bonds and other pieces of paper. Now, what we're saying is, instead of selling the foreigners pieces of paper, let's sell them the goods and services we actually produce in this country, and that'll make this country more affluent. But getting back to your question about where do things stand in Washington, so, it's great that Tammy Baldwin and Josh Hawley have taken the lead on this measure. Lots of other people, as you can imagine, out in the Midwest to represent states that have got manufacturing and agriculture are highly interested in this bill. A lot of people in New York, from where I come from originally, are a little opposed to the bill, and so we're fighting the good fight here, and we're trying to get people to understand all the pros and cons, which is exactly what we're doing here. So that's a good thing. One other thing I'd mention is that within the administration, there's divided views too. President Trump has at times said the strong dollar is a good thing, but he's said several times now that he appreciates the fact that a competitive dollar will help industry compete better in the world and hire more people and create more blue-collar jobs, which, as you know, is something he's committed to. So even within the U.S. cabinet, we've got a division of voices on this issue, but I think more and more people are recognizing the fact that, hey, if you want to improve the trade situation, you must address the dollar.
As you mentioned a couple times in this interview, this bill, the Competitive Dollar for Jobs and Prosperity Act, is a bipartisan effort with Senators Tammy Baldwin and Josh Hawley. Jeff Ferry, Director of Coalition for Prosperous America, if this is such a good idea, why is it just surfacing now? Well,
you can say that about a lot of good ideas. I think that we've been talking about we economists have been talking about the dollar being overvalued. I mean, really, there was an important economist in the 1940s who said the monetary system we have in the world is going to lead to an overvalued dollar, and time has proved him right. But I guess a better way to answer your question is that since Donald Trump got elected in October 16, the dollar has really, been on helium. The dollar has taken off. It's been rocket propelled. It shot up in 2017, came back a little bit. 2018, it's up something like 8 to 10%. In the last 4 days against the Chinese currency, it's risen 2.5%. So, and right now, the euro has slumped in the last couple of months. The pound sterling has been incredibly weak all year. That's 2019, and that's, of course, related to Brexit. But the fundamental problem here is that the world regards the U.S. dollar as a safe currency. And I can't say they're wrong. We don't have revolutions and civil wars. We don't have a government that prints $1 trillion of money, as they do in Zimbabwe, and a taxi ride costs you $2 billion Zimbabwean dollars. That was the situation a couple of years ago. So whenever something goes haywire in a place like Argentina or Italy or Greece, people buy dollar assets. The dollar rises, makes our goods less competitive. It also makes it a lot harder to predict. I mean, I laugh when you talk about, you turn up in Italy and you don't care what the exchange rate is because you haven't looked since the last time you were there. You're just going to buy that cappuccino, whether it's €2 or €3. You're going to say it's too expensive, whatever price it is, because you can get one at Dunkin' Donuts for half the price back home. But for business, it's very difficult when the currency is unpredictable. What we've seen, as I say, since October 2016, and really since even before then, I mean, it's not really so related to the election as it is just to a world where there's a constant stream of mini crises. As I say, Greece, Turkey, Argentina, and that feeds demand to the dollar. And right now this year, the euro's got its problems, the pound sterling's got its problems. So most of the experts I know are saying the dollar's going to continue to rise absent some other action. Hence, this dollar bill becomes more important, and folks like Senators Baldwin and Hawley say we really need that right now.
Well, I don't know about cappuccino in Italy, but if you ever get to the Lake Como area in northern Italy, there's a place called Monte's that has the best hot chocolate I've ever had for about $5 or $6. But you don't count your money when you're having a good time. You count your money, but you don't scrutinize how you spend it. You just spend it. Yeah. Well, Jeff Ferry, you talked about Wall Street don't like this, farmers do. But how is this going to affect the average American, like Sharon and I, who's not on Wall Street and not in the farming business?
Yeah, now this is the problem we have with the bill like this, is it's not as approachable, it's not as accessible to somebody as, here's how we're going to change your health insurance tomorrow. This is economics. It's a little more complicated. You folks are in the radio business. I can't tell you that the radio business is going to do better or worse as a result of this bill, because you're not out there trying to sell your radio show in Italy and Spain and Africa. But there are many, many businesses in the U.S., our members, the Coalition for a Prosperous America is a bipartisan organization with manufacturers and labor unions and farm groups in there. And we have many members who own businesses, all over the country that are competing with foreign competition, whether it comes from China or Germany or somewhere else. And they say, a 10% change in the value of the dollar that made it more competitive would mean a lot to their business. They would sell more, they would hire more workers, and business would be better. They'd invest more in the future. So for a lot of businesses in America that compete with imports, this would make a very significant difference.
Jeff Ferry, before we let you go, we wanted to ask you about China and our trade war, what's going on now. What's going on there? What's your take on it?
Well, President Trump's been trying to reach a deal for over a year now. I've always been a little skeptical that the Chinese would seriously abandon the practices like intellectual property theft and unfair trading that they've been practicing for over 20 years. So I've always been skeptical we'd reach a deal. I think 25% tariffs on all $500 billion worth of our imports from China, which is where we will probably be a month from today in September, is not a bad thing, because it will decouple the U.S. and the Chinese economies. And some of the benefit of this will be some manufacturing returning to these shores. So I think that's the most likely path. I'm not ruling out a deal. Maybe China will say, China does need the U.S. market. So maybe they will make enough measures, compromises to the U.S. requests and demands for us to have a deal. It's possible.
Jeff Ferry, Research Director for Coalition for Prosperous America. We want to thank you so much for joining us. Jeff, please tell our viewers and our listeners where to go to find out more about this bill, and also to find out more about a Coalition for Prosperous America.
Sure. Our website is prosperousamerica.org, and you can go there and click on the research tab or the currency tab and read more about the bill and see some of the studies we've done to show how the competitive dollar would benefit the United States. As I mentioned, we're a bipartisan organization fighting for U.S. better trade, U.S. jobs, U.S. manufacturing, and U.S. agriculture.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be speaking with Jeremy Dice. He's a Deputy General Counsel for First Liberty Institute. We're going to be talking about banning In God We Trust from the public square is a ludicrous idea. Don't go away. Sharon and I will be right back with our next guest.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And once again, as always, we want to thank you for staying with us. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, and my co-host today is Sharron Angle. Yes, that's Sharron Angle. And for rebroadcast of our show, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. You'll find rebroadcast of our radio show there and our TV show there, and a lot of terrific articles and a lot of great information. And with that, Sharron Angle, our next guest is with us. Please make him feel welcome.
Well, it's a pleasure to introduce Hiram Sasser, who is General Counsel for First Liberty Institute, a nonprofit law firm dedicated to defending religious freedom for all Americans. Hiram, welcome to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. And we wanted to discuss an article that a colleague of yours wrote, Jeremy Dice, who wrote, "Banning In God We Trust from the Public Square is Ludicrous." Wow. I didn't know that there was anybody that was really seriously considering this. Talk to us a little bit about who could think that In God We Trust is a bad idea.
Well, actually, it's been hotly litigated. Just a few years ago, or actually just a year and a half ago, the case went up to the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals in Chicago, a group called the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and there's been others that have challenged In God We Trust, been going after religious mottos or themes or whatever all over the country, and so went after In God We Trust on the money. But the Seventh Circuit ruled that In God We Trust is perfectly fine and constitutional to have on the money. But it's an issue that there are a lot of groups out there that would like to have it sandblasted off your coins.
But it looks like they're just kind of judge shopping here. They started out in the Ninth Circuit Court in the 1970s, and now they're doing the Sixth Circuit Court with. Is that what they're doing? Just it's a non-starter for these judges, but they keep bringing it back.
Yeah, I mean, you'll just see it, time and time again. You'll just see different groups or different people will come after In God We Trust, which is it's absolutely baffling to me because In God We Trust is not only have been on all of our paper money, since I guess around 1957 is when they passed the law for that, but has been on our coins since 1938 and consistently. But actually, the practice began during the Civil War of putting In God We Trust on the money. So it's a long-standing historical practice, but nevertheless, there are those out there who want to take it off.
Well, and it sounds like that I'm reading this article and I'm seeing that their big angst is that it's inaccurate, exclusionary, and aimed at brainwashing American school children. I find that ludicrous because we know that the public school system in a lot of ways has been brainwashing our school children and not about God.
Yeah, well, I find that fascinating because I guess the brainwashing began in 1814 when Francis Scott Key was penning the Star-Spangled Banner, because we only sing the very first verse of the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, there's 4 verses, and in the last verse it says, "And this be our motto, and God is our trust." And so, I guess if having In God We Trust as part of official government doctrine or documents and things like that is bad, then the first person that committed that crime was Francis Scott Key.
Well, and I like what the article says. The only brainwashing seems to be from anti-religion activists set on a mission of exclusion and the perpetuation of inaccurate information. So this is a rewriting of history again, don't you think, Hiram?
Well, certainly so. I mean, goodness sakes, again, In God We Trust appeared on the money during the Civil War. It's been, but it predates that, like I said, to the War of 1812, and finds its sort of first written origin in the Star-Spangled Banner, in the 4th verse of the Star-Spangled Banner. So anyone coming after it is, it's just bizarre, but yet nevertheless, there are those who want to come after it, want to complain about it, and invoke lots of different theories. But at the end of the day, the founding fathers certainly would disapprove of sandblasting In God We Trust off of our memorials or public buildings or our money.
Well, I'm going to go back to my first query, which was about this idea that they're judge shopping, that they're looking for a court that will take this a little bit higher. When does this become frivolous? When do judges say, enough, we've made our decision, we're not going to talk to you about this anymore, stop? Yeah, it won't end really, I guess, until the Supreme Court were to take up a case on In God We Trust. But I don't think there's anyone who legitimately doubts what the Supreme Court would do, especially after the American Legion versus American Humanist Association decision that just came out
about a month and a half, or actually a little over a month ago, and that was our decision, our case on the cross, the 40-foot cross in Maryland that was put up as a World War I memorial in 1925. And the Supreme Court ruled 7-2 that memorial was perfectly fine. I don't think anyone would doubt, again, what the Supreme Court would do, given the current makeup of the court. I would suspect that In God We Trust would win 7-2 with the current makeup of the court as well.
Well, again, is there any such thing as a frivolous lawsuit? Can you fine somebody for continuing to bring things that waste taxpayer dollars and time? I mean, really, don't these judges in these circuit courts have anything better to do than discuss an issue that's, as you say, it's, everybody knows how it's going to turn out?
Well, I mean, at some point, a district court judge, when someone files a case like this, could sanction the people for filing the case, saying that this has already been, gone, up and down the court system, and we've had enough decisions now that everyone knows what the law is. And you should just, give up the ghost and quit doing it. But instead, you keep filing a lawsuit. So to sort of discourage future lawsuits, we're going to slap you with a big fine. That certainly is a possibility going forward.
Well, I would hope that they would consider that possibility, because it's difficult to get to these circuit court judges in the first place. You have to have a lower court decide that you can go, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, the way it goes is, first you bring your case into district court, federal district court, and then if you don't like how that goes, you have a right to appeal to a 3-judge panel at one of the circuit appellate courts around the country. And if you don't like that, then you can ask for all the judges that sit on that appellate court to hear it all together. Sometimes that could be 12. It could be as high as 25, I think, in the Ninth Circuit or somewhere around there. And then if you don't like that, or you don't get, satisfaction there, you can ask the Supreme Court to review your case. But they only take about 70 cases out of the 7,000 case requests they receive a year. And so as a result, you only have about a 1% chance of them taking the case one way or the other. So typically, these are all going to be resolved in front of a 3-judge panel as its final stop at one of these appellate courts.
Well, I've been in this little court thing several times, and some of the times they just tell me I don't have standing. You can't bring that case, even though it seems to me it's an important and vital case. I can think of one where I had a case against Harry Reid for coercion of voters, and it was pretty much a shut and an open and shut case, because even the liberal media had to agree that he'd done something wrong here, and I was told I had no standing. So just to get standing in the courts is not as easy as it seems. People are always saying, well, why don't you sue him? And yet we get something like this, and it goes. What's the difference? How do you get standing? How do you get your thing before the court, when obviously this seems frivolous to me, like they shouldn't have any standing?
Yeah, it's a lot of these cases do end up being dismissed based upon standing, because you got to prove that you have suffered some sort of injury as a result of the whatever the government action is. And so what's your injury for having In God We Trust, like on the money? I mean, there is no injury.
Right.
The only thing that they can claim is that they some sort of psychological harm, that they get upset by the fact that God is on their money. But that's pretty thin for what we would normally think of as an injury that would entitle you to be able to go to federal court.
Absolutely. Thank you for making that point, Hiram. We need to go to a break now. We have been talking with Hiram Sasser, who is the General Counsel for First Liberty Institute. And we've been talking about banning In God We Trust from the public square. We are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch our TV show on the AUN TV network in Northern California. Rick Trader, my co-host, and I will be right back after these messages.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
And thanks for watching and listening. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. Please check out our website, CCRShow.com. That's CCRShow.com. Also, like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Our guest this segment is Hiram Sasser. He's a general counsel at the First Liberty Institute, and we're discussing In God We Trust, or banning In God We Trust from the public square, and it is ludicrous. Hiram, thank you for holding through that break. We really do appreciate your time.
Hey, no worries. Thanks for having me.
Hiram, before we pick up this conversation again, tell us a little bit more about First Liberty Institute and what you gentlemen and ladies do.
Yeah, well, we handle mostly religious liberty cases. Where somebody's religious freedom has been infringed. That could be anything from like Coach Kennedy, just outside of Seattle, being told he could not pray by himself silently for 15 seconds after a football game because he would be on the field and people could see him and would know that he was praying. And so that case is still, battling and going on. To representing the American Legion because they put up veterans memorials all over the country that happen to have religious imagery. And most recently in Maryland, they had put up one in 1925 honoring 49 specific soldiers, sailors, and Marines who served during World War I from Prince George's County and had died in service. And the American Human Association sued to have the memorial torn down because it was a 40-foot large freestanding cross. And it had been there, like I said, since 1925. And that case just came down from the Supreme Court just a little over a month ago. We represented the American Legion in the case, and we were able to win 7-2 that the memorial could remain. So, we handle those types of cases, to defending members of the military who have a religious liberty issue. I remember back when, like, Chaplain Motter from the United States Navy chaplain, who had been the chaplain to the Navy Special Warfare Command, had come under attack by the Navy because he had professed his endorser, the Assembly of God, had to say about marriage and other biblical issues. And the Navy came after him, and we had to go win that. So it's just those types of cases that we go and fight and win.
You can't see me, Hiram, but I'm sitting here shaking my head because I can't believe these people don't have something better to do. They don't have. This is what is important to them, to say that religious liberty and religious freedom is not part of our DNA as Americans. I love going over to Philadelphia to Independence Hall and learning about the birth of our country, and also checking out the other historic sites like Christ Church, and finding out that many of the sessions held by our First and Second Continental Congress took place in Christ Church. Hello? What more does it take, Hiram?
Yeah, it's very bizarre. I don't know why those, like, for instance, who would want to remove "In God We Trust" from the money. I don't know what motivates them. I don't know why they're so excited about that, why they get so fired up about it. Like, I don't know why someone would want to see an almost 100-year-old Veterans Memorial torn down. I mean, I don't know how that gives them pleasure or improves their life to know that they're tearing down a Veterans Memorial. But what I do know is that when people see the government, whenever they see the courts or whatever order like a memorial torn down or "In God We Trust" sandblasted, that's not a neutral message. That's not the government. That's not a court being neutral.
Yeah.
That's actually demonstrated hostility. To go around on a search and destroy mission to sandblast any reference to a deity, to God, on anything, on our monuments and our money or whatever, that is a demonstrated hostility. And that was actually part of one of the decisions that came out of the that Cross case that I was talking about out of Maryland,
right,
which is that it would be no one would interpret tearing down the memorial that's been up for almost 100 years as a neutral act. That tearing it down, it would be hostile, and that our Constitution does not require that level of hostility towards things that happen to reference the religious.
Here on the Conservative Commandos radio show, our guest is Hiram Sasser. He's the General Counsel for First Liberty Institute, and we're discussing an article by Jeremy Dice, banning "In God We Trust" from the public square is ludicrous. And I wanted to read a couple lines from Jeremy's article. One anti-religion activist exclaimed that Oklahoma's recent effort to in regard to a court case, effort is inaccurate, exclusionary, and aimed at, quote, brainwashing American school children. And he also writes, the only brainwashing is from the anti-religious activist set on a mission of exclusion and the preparation of inaccurate information. You know, Hiram, these people have gotten the Bible taken out of schools. They've gotten any reference to a Christmas concert taken out of schools. It's not enough for them. What I would like to know is, when is this finally going to go to the Supreme Court? This idea of separation of church and state. The Constitution specifically says the government cannot create a religion. We accept all religions. To me, this seems to be a no-brainer. When's this going to go to the Supreme Court, finally, for a final ruling once and for all?
Well, you know, I don't know because what keeps happening is that the In God We Trust keeps winning at the courts of appeal, even in the Ninth Circuit Court, which is the most liberal court in America. Yeah, I mean, so In God We Trust keeps winning, and then the Supreme Court, when the other side asks for the Supreme Court to review it, the Supreme Court refuses to review it. So when will it go to the Supreme Court? I hope never, because if it did, it would have to probably mean that a lower court ruled that In God We Trust had to come off the money, and that would just be so outlandish and crazy that obviously the Supreme Court would have to step in. So hopefully the Supreme Court never has to step in. We don't get that far afield and get that crazy with removing In God We Trust from the money or from anywhere else, any other kind of acknowledgement. I mean, goodness sakes, it's printed or carved into the wall above where the Speaker of the House sits in the House of Representatives in the U.S. Capitol.
I hope Nancy Pelosi turns around sometime and reads the writing on the wall. How's that? Hiram Sasser, we want to thank you so much for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience where they can find out more about the First Liberty Institute.
Sure. People can learn more about First Liberty. They just go to our website, firstliberty.org.
All right. Hiram Sasser, again, General Counsel, First Liberty Institute. We want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
All right, thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
And you are listening and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with Sharron Angle and yours truly, Rick Trader. On the other side, we're going to be talking about the Afghanistan war, America's longest war. We still have thousands of troops there. Is it time to bring them home? We'll talk about that right after this break.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call Low Cost Airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The secret war is yours, free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them. Pat Boone gave you the number.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV.
And once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle. And for rebroadcasts, please check out our website, ccrshow.com. That's ccrshow.com. Also, you'll find our radio show there, rebroadcasts of our TV show. And also, you can like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And with that, Sharon, our next guest is with us. And as you always do, please make her feel welcome.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to reintroduce our friend Kelley Vlahos, who's the executive director, having been writing for the American Conservative for the last decade, focusing on national security, foreign policy, civil liberties, and domestic policies. She served for 15 years as a Washington bureau reporter for Fox News and at the WTOP News in Washington as a writer, digital editor, and social media strategist. She's also worked as a beat reporter at the Bridge News Financial Wire and Homeland Security Today, and as a regular contributor at antiwar.com, a native nutmegger. She got her start in Connecticut newspapers, but now resides with her family in Arlington, Virginia. Kelley, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Well, we want to talk to you about an article that you didn't write, but we're very interested in it. It's a Fox News article. It's preparing to withdraw thousands of troops from Afghanistan as part of a proposed Taliban deal. Well, there's just so much in that title there. Yes. We're brokering deals now with the Taliban. I thought they were terrorists. I didn't realize we recognized them as a legitimate negotiating force.
Yeah, well, I guess now after 17 years, we're starting to recognize that we have to do something to end this war and end the violence, which has continued without abatement for 17 years. The biggest issue here is that the Taliban now holds more territory than it did 10 years ago or even 15 years ago. The war isn't working. You know, we have 14,000 troops on the ground right now. They are aiding a struggling Afghan military to hold whatever they can and to go after the terrorism and the terrorists that continue there on the ground. That can't last. The American people want to get out of this war. The Taliban is willing to talk with us. They're not willing to talk with the Afghan government yet. But the good news is that the talks are happening, and they've actually had some successes, which is different from some of the negotiations that have gone on in the past, which have faltered. They have many fits and starts. Now, thanks to the Trump administration making a serious effort, there are real negotiators on the ground. They're in Qatar, in Doha right now, Americans, Afghans, and Europeans. And it might not be music to the ears of people who have been used to calling the Taliban terrorists or harboring of terrorism in Afghanistan. But we realize now that diplomacy probably is the only way to extricate from this war.
Well, I guess my first instinct is, can we trust them? You know, they come to the table, they make an agreement. Can we trust them to keep that agreement, or are we just, like you said, tired of war and ready to settle for anything?
Yeah, I don't have a crystal ball, and you're absolutely correct. They have shown no ability to keep promises in the past. They are continuing to attack civilians every day and on the ground. And now that there is yet another presidential election going on, there are 20 candidates vying for president in Afghanistan right now. They have threatened and actually followed through with attacks on election officials and their staff. There was 20 people killed last weekend. There was another, dozens of people killed the weekend before. So, yeah, you're right, Sharon. There is no reason to believe that they will keep to any promises they make in these negotiations. They are as tired as we are, though, that they are emboldened by the fact that they have been able to not beat us tactically, but to keep us bogged down in a quagmire there. Also, we have to recognize that Pakistan has a lot to do with the virility of the Taliban in Afghanistan. And they're not at these talks, which I find that is a troublesome aspect of all of this. We all know that the Pakistanis have been funding and harboring the Taliban over the border for this entire war. And if you ask any expert here in Washington worth his salt, they will tell you that without the Pakistanis' help, the Taliban would not have been so successful at holding ground and replenishing their ranks. So I would like to see how they are involved here, if at all, because I don't think you will have a solid agreement unless the Pakistanis are at the table as well.
Well, it seems like we've had some fairly good success with talks with North Korea and also with Iran and sanctions. And just it seems like there has been a different tactic taken now with Afghanistan. I've kind of liked what we've been doing with North Korea and Iran. How come it seems like we're changing? Are we not changing, or we're just trying to get to the table so that we can do these tactics? What's going on here?
I think it seems like that from the outset, but we're dealing with a different enemy here. So we can't really sanction them because they aren't a functioning government, like the Iranian regime. We are working with the Afghan government to fight the Taliban. So sanctions aren't going to work. The airstrikes are our biggest, I guess, negotiating tool, which the Trump administration has stepped up the airstrikes. He took the sort of the handcuff, so to speak, off of the military so that they could fight more openly and basically more aggressively with the Taliban when he came into office. That hasn't worked. So there's not much you can do to keep them on the run. So I think that the Trump administration has been pretty clear that it wants to get out of this war, and the Taliban is willing to negotiate. What they want from us is obviously to see a withdrawal from the country. What we want from them is a promise that not only will they stop the attacks, but they won't harbor other terrorist groups. So when a power vacuum does open up, and it will open up because the Afghan army is weak, the Afghan government is weak, and once we leave, we can't make any bones about it. There's going to be a huge power vacuum there. The question is it our responsibility anymore to prop up this country after we put almost $1 trillion into this war? That's not counting all the costs to our veterans. That's just counting the basic costs of the military operations and the reconstruction. By last estimates, we are funding $45 billion a year in this war, and $5 billion of it is for an Afghan army that's just not ready to take care of its country yet. So how long this can go on before, we're hurting our own. We have been depleting our resources, and we're hurting our troops by the constant redeployment of this small group of soldiers and Marines and airmen that have been fighting this war for us. And there's only so much stress that we could put on that system.
Well, I'm I guess a veteran watcher of the Vietnam War. I hate these wars that we get into, that we don't win, that when we leave, as you say, there's a power vacuum, and everything that we fought for there, it seems to be lost. It just breaks my heart. I can't say it any stronger than that. It breaks my heart for the resources, but mostly for the lives that have been spent fighting this war. And I guess I was thinking sanctions against Pakistan. If they're the ones that are, fueling the fire, can't we at least stop that fuel? Talk to me a little bit about the comparison there, because it's striking to me how this seems like Vietnam all over again.
Yeah. On Pakistan, we have been withholding, and forgive me because I don't have it in front of me, but I think it's like $1 billion in aid that they have grown accustomed to getting, and the Trump administration has been withholding that aid. When we go there, we get a frosty reception. They came here, they get a frosty reception. There is this weird standoff between the Pakistanis and the United States in terms of their negotiations. I'm with you, Sharon. I say we push them harder. I don't know why we don't. I agree with you. Maybe that's the tack that we need to take. You're absolutely right about the comparison with Vietnam, because I talk to a lot of veterans, and I've been covering this war for a long time, and I was covering it in 2012 when IEDs was the weapon of choice. And you had all these young men that were getting, blown up from their waist, like right under their legs on these IEDs planted on the pathways there. They lived because we have the medical technology to keep them alive now that we didn't have during Vietnam. But their lives are completely changed and shattered forever, because many of them can't have children when they go home. And these are like 22-year-old guys. And now they need lifetime care. They can't have children. Yes, they will live. We do have the means to keep them in a lifestyle that's much more comfortable than 50 years ago. But still, the waste. And they're not counted among the dead, but they are counted among the casualties. And there's tens of thousands of casualties that we don't really acknowledge, because we have this collective amnesia about our wars. So it's like, if we don't see it in the news every day, we sort of, that was in the past. But, a lot, like you said, these veterans have to live with these injuries for years. And when they wake up and they say, this isn't worth it. And when there was a Pew poll last week or so that came out saying that the vast majority of Iraq and Afghanistan veterans do not believe that their wars were worth it, that what they fought for was worth it. And it's a little more for the Iraq guys, but it's still a clear majority. I think it was like 54% or something. I don't have it in front of me. But, that was the first time you actually saw the majority of veterans saying it wasn't worth it. And your heart, like you said, your heart goes out to them, because they want to feel like they accomplished something. And they see this going on for 17 years and these negotiations, and it's like fits and starts, and where are the Pakistanis? And it's like, come on, it's troubling.
Well, there's another element here, and I hope Rick gets into it with you, and that's the woman element. There is a real threat, I think, to women there in Afghanistan, and I want you to talk a bit with Rick about that, but we need to go to a break, Kelley. We are talking with Kelley Vlahos about the Afghan war and our withdrawal. We're coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and the AM/FM 24/7. And now you can watch us on the AUN TV network in Northern California. I'm Sharron Angle. I'm here with my co-host, Rick Trader, and we'll be right back with our guest, Kelley Vlahos.
Have you been leasing a property for your business or renting storage space? Are you tired of paying rent year after year? Call the experts at General Steel to own a building at up to 30% off now.
I'd been renting a building and paying someone else's mortgage, but General Steel showed me how I could own a space tailored to the needs of my business and for less than renting.
Call General Steel now at the number on your screen for our current building specials and to price your metal building system today.
My building's the dream I've had since finishing my house 14 years ago. I've been using it for a garage, workshop, and storage area for my tools and equipment, and I can't believe how great it turned out.
The economy is improving and the price of steel is expected to rise. Stop waiting. It could cost you thousands. Call General Steel now to see how you can own for less than you thought. Stop waiting to start your business or expand your operation. Call General Steel now.
Call 877-484-7002.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America. And get this, did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Once again, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, suffering from hay fever. My co-host today is Sharron Angle, and our guest this segment is Kelley Vlahos. She's with the American Conservative. Kelley, thank you for holding through that break. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rick.
Well, we're discussing withdrawing thousands of troops from Afghanistan as part of a proposed deal with the Taliban. Hey, guys, I'm with you. I don't think we can trust these people. These people know nothing but war. I don't think they've ever been at peace, at least for the past several decades. They beat the Russians. Kelley, why didn't we learn a lesson from the Russians?
Because it's called hubris. We figured we are the exceptional American nation, and that the Russians were too weak and too corrupt and not capable. That we were, and we're learning a very hard lesson as we speak now, because now we are at the negotiating table with the Taliban, who we had written off as terrorists and thugs and
I thought we had that war won. I thought that was under control. I really did, Kelley, and I appreciate you coming on. I really do, and I say this all the time because this is where I learn. I learn from guests like you that the Taliban now controls more land. They They control about 50% of Afghanistan after nearly $1 trillion, roughly 3,000 American lives. And what's this gotten us? I know we got Osama bin Laden. All right, I know we got him. But my gosh, this is a disaster. This is a disgrace. And you guys are right about Vietnam. Here we go. This is just like Vietnam all over again. I can see the same thing happening the moment we walk out of there, just like the moment we walked out of Vietnam, the North Vietnamese walked back in. And I'm a little perplexed here. I can remember a conversation that I had with a young man at a wedding. This was before we went into Afghanistan, before we went into Iraq. And he was very opposed to it. And at the time, I wasn't so opposed, but I can remember what I said to him. And that was, I hope at the end of this, we don't get another wall with thousands of names on it of our dead men and women that represent nothing but destroyed families. I'm sorry, ladies. I'm a little beside myself right now because I see the same thing happening once again.
Well, and just going back to an earlier conversation about the injuries. I mean, we may well have that wall, or could have had that wall, if we didn't have the medical advancements that we have today. Because so many of these young men and women who fell to IED attacks would not be alive today if we were in Vietnam 50 years ago. They were ripped apart, and we were able to get them out of their medevac and into surgery in Germany within 24 hours. We couldn't do that in Vietnam. So, thank God it was only 3,000, but it's tens of thousands of casualties that who knows if they'd be alive today.
Wow.
And so it is, because it is a longer war. It's 17 years, longer than Vietnam, more money than Vietnam.
Unbelievable.
More blood and treasure. I mean, it's just...
Well, Kelley, we're not the only ones that are skeptical of this deal. Senator Lindsey Graham is also very skeptical of this. He tweeted out, very interesting to see what kind of deal is made with the Taliban in Afghanistan. One thing I know for certain, Al-Qaeda and ISIS will never be at the negotiating table. This is from Lindsey Graham. The other thing is, we're talking about pulling out, but we're not talking about totally pulling out, that we may leave between 8,000 and 9,000 troops.
Which is the number of troops that were there when Trump came into office. So, for people like me who want to get out, that's not great news.
Unbelievable.
And I don't
Sharon brought up a point. The women in Afghanistan are very worried about a deal with the Taliban. Can you talk about that, Kelley? Why they would be worried?
Well, absolutely. I mean, before 9/11, the Taliban had taken over Afghanistan. They had overrun Kabul, and they were establishing local governances in the villages and towns and cities. And women were forced to, again, cover up, live under even more strict lives and rules than they were under their husbands under normal Afghan life, which is pretty strict to begin with. Children were let out of school, never to come back. Gays were driven underground. I mean, it was a totalitarian state, a religious theocracy that punished any sign of individualism or freedom from women and people in general. So of course, they are worried. I mean, the Taliban, they're still targeting schools. So as recently as this month, they were targeting schools. So we are putting a lot of faith and talk with a group that, despite all of their talking, is still attacking civilians, attacking children, attacking women.
Kelley, they don't want peace.
Yeah. Well,
they absolutely do not want peace. And when you talk about sanctions, I mean, what do you sanction? I mean, their biggest export is drugs. I mean, what else do they have to export there in Afghanistan? Rocks? I mean, there is really nothing there. And I wanted to ask you this question, Kelley. Why have we failed to help them build up an army to defend themselves?
I think there are many different reasons for that, and I don't want to entirely blame the U.S. government like I usually do, because I believe that they had their heart and all the best intentions to build up the security forces so that they can take responsibility for their own security. That's been the mantra from the beginning. And like I said, we've dumped billions of dollars into this effort. I think the blame is putting our faith in the Afghan government to keep their side of the bargain, which they were supposed to get their act together on the civil side, end corruption, make a safer place for Afghans to live and work with us in good faith. And they haven't done that. So as much as I want to blame the big bureaucracy, which, there's always trouble there. We have generals reports all the time about waste, fraud, and abuse. But the fact is that the Afghans have not cleaned up their own house.
Well, Kelley, I think one of the problems here is they've never had a democracy. They've never had a real government. And we're talking about not just 10 years or 17 years or since the Russian invasion, but ever. They never have had a stable government. So what makes anyone think that there is any kind of a leadership pool there?
Yeah, that was our first mistake, is to try to impose our vision of democracy on this country.
It doesn't work. And I can tell you agree with me, Kelley. This democracy building doesn't work. Let's teach them to build their own army to defend themselves. It doesn't work. And I'm just beside myself. $1 trillion, 3,000 lives lost, countless other lives destroyed and wounded, and we've got nothing to show for it except for we got Osama bin Laden. Osama is dead and General Motors is alive. I'm sorry, ladies. It's just so fruitless. I hope, Kelley, I hope we learn a lesson from this and we never get into these wars that we can't win, that we don't go in to win in the first place.
Well, I'd like to, you go back to the Clinton administration, in which they felt like they felt like they fixed Bosnia. They bomb and then they send in a bunch of peacekeepers and aid, and they felt so emboldened, like this is what we do. We go in and we liberate people and we fix things and we build. Colin Powell said it. You broke it, you fix it. Well, we broke it after 9/11 in a way which was, we went there to go after, the terrorists that were, responsible for 9/11. We got them, but then we proceeded to break the country. And then we said, well, now we got to put in billions of dollars fixing it and holding it up and making it an example for the rest of Central Asia and in the Middle East that, and they felt, and there's still people in this town that feels that way, that it's our responsibility to foster and maintain this world order that is in the mirror image of the United States. They do not learn their lessons, and I'm afraid that we might not learn this one either, because there are plenty of people warning against this, including my magazine, 15, 17 years ago. And nobody listened, because the establishment in Washington believed that it could work, and they still do. They still poo-poo our magazine for saying it's not working. We need to find a way to get out.
Yeah. Kelley Vlahos, executive editor, The American Conservative. Kelley, tell us a little bit about that magazine. Where can people find out about it?
Well, they can find out by going to www.theamericanconservative.com. We were started 15 years ago, 2002 now, in opposition to the war in Iraq for many of the same reasons that we're talking about now, that it was a preventable war and that it was a war of choice. And it sinks our country into quagmires overseas and detracts from taking care of people here. And, I feel we were right. We continue to be right. We have a lot of smart people writing for us, foreign policy and national security, and we're still fighting the good fight.
Kelley, you have a website?
Yes, it's me personally. Well, I'm at
the magazine.
Yeah, www.theamericanconservative.com, and we're at AmConMag on Twitter, at AmConMag.
All right. Kelley Vlahos, we want to thank you so much for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Well, thank you so much.
And this is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader. My co-host today is Sharron Angle. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more right after this break.
AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV. Are you stuck with a timeshare? Did you attend the presentation and were seduced and enticed into buying that great vacation and investment? Now you're in the terrible position of trying to figure out a way to get out of that mess. You're not alone. For over 15 years, BuyYourTimeshare.com has been helping people like yourself get out of timeshare ownership. The fact is, there is no resale market. Unscrupulous telemarketers call you and say they have buyers waiting, and the next thing that happens is you give them hundreds of dollars for an ad, and you'll never hear from them again. Another fact is that an identical timeshare to yours is being offered on eBay for $1, and no one is buying it. If you want out of your timeshare, I urge you to go to BuyYourTimeshare.com or call them at 877-94-HELP-ME. That number again is 877-94-HELP-ME. BuyYourTimeshare.com. That's BuyYourTimeshare.com. 877-94-HELP-ME.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Well, Sharron, it's great to have you back with me. Terrific that you got back safely from your vacation. I'm glad you had a great time. But please tell our audience how they could follow what you're doing when you're not here with me on Conservative Commandos.
Well, they can go to SharronAngle.com, SharronAngle.com. That's where they can find out all about me. And I'd like to thank our guests because they help us know where our country's at and where we're going. First of all, we had Jeff Ferry, who is the research director for Coalition for a Prosperous America, talking about what we thought was the strong dollar, but maybe not so much. We also had Hiram Sasser, who is general counsel for First Liberty Institute, talking about the ludicrous getting rid of our motto, our national motto, "In God We Trust." And finally, Kelley Vlahos, who is with the American Conservative magazine, and she talked to us about Afghanistan. It was an eye-opener, to say the least.
And not in a good way. But for right now, we are out of time. We got to run. We got to go. Take care. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.